Yeah, my next question was actually going to be that cost analysis, is looking at both of them and kind of seeing what's involved in both. I know we talked a lot about already, like no matter what one you sell on, Amazon's taking that 15 to or 8 to like 15%, whatever it is, referral fee, depending on the category. And then you've also got your FBA costs involved, and I know that. And then you've got your advertising costs. So a third of your sales are paying Amazon, which might seem like a lot, but Jeff's got to keep his yacht afloat somehow. So I totally get that. But it is going to be a lot. It is going to be a bit taxing on some sellers. But that's not to say that there's no cost involved in FBM. You do, like I said, you got to pay your 3PLs. You got to pay to package. You got to pay someone to ship it out. If you don't pay Amazon, so there's costs on both sides. I feel like I talked to some sellers or some of the people that come into the sales channel, and they're like, "Oh, like I don't want to pay Amazon all that money." I'm like, well, you're just gonna be paying someone else that money anyway. Like, it's not like you're getting shipping for free if you don't do FBA. And it just seems like all the benefits of FBA, like getting you that Prime badge, getting you that you can do same day shipping with Amazon today. It just seems like there's a whole slew of benefits to be using FBA. Of course, again, unless the cost analysis comes back and all of a sudden FBM is like more profitable just because Amazon's charging you $1 million because your product's giant. And is just like a box of rocks that you're shipping out that weighs a bunch of pounds. So a lot of things to consider. Again, doing that cost analysis is definitely going to be crucial to seeing which one's right for you. And if you ever want someone else to do that cost analysis, our team can do that for you with our enhanced logistics services by Velocity Sellers.
Good call out there, Pete. So cost analysis, right? You're going to take your price. You're going to take your COGS, get as detailed as possible with your COGS, whether it's, buying it from China, manufacturing in China, whatever you're doing, just get as detailed as you can with your COGS. And so include that in one of your columns. You're going to do maybe your cost, maybe even break it out, your shipping cost. And then if you have a 3PL, put all that in there. And then also your like shipping time, right? Because there's going to be a difference between them packing and shipping it from your 3PL, whereas when they just pack it on a pallet or pack it into a parcel and then send it into FBA, those are probably going to be a little bit of two different costs, maybe, depending on your 3PL. And Brian can probably speak to that a little bit, but real quick, I'll kind of finish this up, and then Brian, you can jump in about some 3PL stuff. A good thing is like put your FBA fee. That'll be your shipment, like your shipping fee from your 3PL. Okay, that's that 1-to-1 ratio. Your referral fee is going to be the same no matter what. And then what I wanted to just kind of double down on with what you said, Pete, advertising cost. That's a great call out because people kind of forget that. If you want to be aggressive, go about 15%. If you want to go like kind of a slow, kind of healthy growth, go 10%.
Percent of what? 10% of what?
Of the price, right? It's gonna just be that's just what you're gonna be inputting into every like every time you make a sale, it'll be 10% tacos, right? So if you break it down by a SKU level, it's just 10% of your sale, which is your price point, right? So 10%. And then also you can't just get by without. I mean, you can. This is also loaded, I guess. If you're, depending on what you're doing and your strategy, your marketing strategy is like, if you premium, blah, 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 whatever. If you decide that you're like never going to go on sale, then ignore what I'm about to say. But most companies are going to have promotions, whether it's going to be fourth quarter, holiday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of these different events, Prime Day in July. I think there's a sale coming up here in March. Try to think in your mind, like, what can I do? What's like a normal thing? So if it's like 20%, 25%, you can kind of see that in your cost analysis, because at any moment at any time, if you start selling a bunch of units on a promotion, you're going to all of a sudden you might be in the red. So I would always add like a promotional percentage. And then when you see your profit, you might have to adjust your price, because some people forget about the promotion side of things, like the advertising and then actually having a 20% discount, and be surprised. I just did a cost analysis for a client and they're making about 16 cents. So like that doesn't feel great, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to make that 16 cents, right? You're dealing with Chinese factories, you're dealing with whoever's manufacturing. There's a lot of work on your end that you're probably not actually seeing. Maybe some emails back and forth. That 16 cents goes pretty fast. So always add some of those promotional things. But I kept talking a little bit, but I wanted to throw it back to to Brian, just maybe you can give us a little bit more insight on 3PL charging.
Yeah, and most 3PLs they're going to charge you every time they touch the product. Now, you can do some will have if they have portals that you use when you select a bulk order, there's just less of a charge because they're doing pallets at a time, master cartons at a time, so it's easier for them because otherwise they're pulling individual units and it's just more time consuming for them to do that. So it's always going to be cheaper to send in bulk versus individual units. But probably a factor that customers should understand too is that customer experience. If they think they can provide a better customer experience than Amazon, then FBM is the case. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, you'd have to have some dedicated people in order
Yeah.
to pull that off as far as being able to answer the questions. If it's just one person running a small business, I mean, you can easily get behind on that. But then with FBA, you just have a little bit more support as far as that customer service, and it's kind of in how you want to handle it and that kind of things. And you can set parameters as far as if you have it FBA, but if you're FBM, then that's all on you. And if you want to send another one, now you've duplicated that cost and you've kind of done that. But it's as far as it being FBA, it's just probably better customer experience than what you can offer. Plus, I mean, I think people just feel more comfortable with that. And to be honest, me as a consumer with Amazon too, is I wanted to have that badge. I of course look for where warehouse it's coming from because it'll say an Amazon warehouse. I feel like I can trust that more, and it's always quicker shipping because that's where you get. Sometimes you go on there and it's like 2 weeks delivery, and you're like, man, where are they delivering from? It's because they just built them a margin to go, well, I need some time to realize I got an order. Well, I need some time to pick and pack and ship that order and purchase labels plus the carrier's time that it takes to deliver. So they just given themselves a giant lead time to complete that. And you probably will get it sooner, sometimes later. I mean, maybe they didn't process orders as often as they should in order to meet those expectations. And then of course you get dinged from Amazon if you are outside that window as far as delivery, but it just puts more on you to make sure you manage those. And if you're missing orders and all of a sudden your metric is hitting bad because you've got some orders, or maybe you've had to cancel orders because you thought you had inventory, but you don't have inventory and you can't send what you don't have. That happens more often than I would think would happen. And you kind of just get stuck with the repercussions of that as far as your metric looking bad. And that's just an area that's tough as customer service, is you don't want to mess with that too much because you start giving people a bad experience, then they're not going to be return customers or they leave bad reviews and now you're digging yourself out of a hole. So yeah, definitely 3PLs are a major factor in your cost analysis because you really need to understand the detail of that cost. But then customer experience is kind of that, you may not know the cost of it, but it's definitely going to impact your sales and profitability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I was hoping to convey to our viewers today, is that there's a lot that goes into this. This is not just a simple like, I'm gonna flip a coin. I'm gonna let my dog. I'm gonna put out 2 treats and see which one my dog chooses, and I'll go with that.